sky's the limit. The truth is on our side. There's no time for worry. Let's show the world our pride. Whether another comes up with a surprise, we all will discover where our fate will lie. On a blue wave, we rise to save the day. Only me, only you can let our hearts sail away on a blue wave.
Welcome to episode 42 of TruBlu Politics Podcast with my co-host Anita.
Hi.
And of course, I am Karen. And we are so thrilled to be joined in conversation by our good friend, Paul Richardson of Kitchen Table Progressives. And of course, everybody out there in Progressive Talk Radio land knows him as Paul from Seattle. And so there has been so much that has happened since we last had you on, Paul. And of course, there's been quite a bit of damage that has been done by the Republican Party, led by the authoritarian dictator, Ciuttolini, to completely dismantle our democracy and trample all over our Constitution and our civil liberties along with it. So what are some of your observations? I guess we can start here, your observations, and where do you think our focus should be?
It's astonishing that it seems that the Constitution has just, come unraveled like a cheap suit. And I mean a cheap suit like the kind that they bury people in, the kind that you couldn't wear out for an evening. It was because it's not meant for wear, it's meant for burying, not for wearing. And I don't know. I guess maybe they've been, Trump has been working on this the whole time to tell every one of them, if I win, it's just, I don't know. Could you call every one of them, say, if I win, you better be loyal to me? And they all said, okay. We're talking about hundreds of people.
No. Can I just say something real quick? I don't think so. I think this is all, what he's doing has been in the Republican playbook for decades.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is that it's amazing that they are all, and I take somebody like Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, what a punk. I mean, she voted, she was the deciding vote in some of the big bill of goods, and as long as Medicaid cuts don't hurt Alaska, okay.
Right.
And it's like, why is all 740,000 people in Alaska on Medicaid? Probably, because it's not actually a booming state. Yeah,
I think she was being disingenuous about that, because if you remember when they were voting before to get rid of the Affordable Care Act back during the first term, and she invited people from all over the country to call her office because she was voting against it. She was being disingenuous. She was looking for a way to justify.
I think she was trying to get cover for herself.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah. She was getting cover for herself and, basically trying to pretend like any of this shit that the Republican Party, she and the Republican Party have done has been in the best interest of her constituents and the American people at large, in general. But so I think it's all bullshit. Yeah. It's all performative and phony.
She complained about, when of all the things I thought, now you're complaining that they're going to defund NPR and public broadcasting. Because, turns out, there's really not much commercial TV up there. They need public broadcasting to warn them about tsunamis. And of course, there was that earthquake off
in Alaska,
which may have been, there'll be others.
But this is another example of how all these things, Republicans have been wanting to do this for decades. I remember George H.W. Bush running for office talking about cutting NPR, And the Democrats had Big Bird following him everywhere. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
This is what they've always wanted to do. That they hate public broadcasting. They hate anything that informs the American people because that makes them less likely to vote Republican.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you know what? In 2005, when that happened, and Susan Stanberg was the CEO of PBS and NPR, and she kind of caved and said, "Oh, okay." I mean, I remember seeing an interview with her, and saying, "Well, the Bush administration wants to cut funding to NPR and PBS," and she kind of her toughest line was, "Well, tough cookies." And then the next thing you know is that, and I told my mom this. I said, because my mom watched PBS, and I said, "Yeah, now it's or NPR is a national petroleum radio because you see all of the sponsors started becoming big corporations."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, Susan Stanberg kind of opened the door and said, "Well, if it's a choice between cutting us and letting the corporate voice in," so she kind of compromised, and that's the thing. You start with compromising with these people. You give them an inch, they will take a mile.
Oh, they will take a mile, absolutely. But you're talking about 2005. I'm talking about in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well.
So my point is that this has been on their wish list for decades. They hate PBS. They hate Sesame Street. Teaches empathy. Teaches kids not to grow up to be monsters. As Max, what's his name? Caulfield said, raise your sons to be monsters. Madison Cawthorn. That's what he told these Republican women, to raise your sons to be monsters. Well, if they're watching Sesame Street, they're not going to grow up to be monsters, most likely, or serial killers.
Right. Well, Tammy Duckworth, so I was telling you guys about this interview that I saw on WTTW, which is the public broadcasting channel here in Chicago. And so she does speak about some of the, the damage that has been done.
Call it a destruction of our foreign policy and leaving a vacuum for the PRC, our biggest near-peer adversary, to step in. We are already seeing the PRC, the Communist Chinese government, step in to fund former USAID programs that we were funding, like President Bush's PEPFAR program. You see the Chinese stepping in, using the apparatus that we set up to improve America's relationship around the world, and they are using that to make headways for themselves. But I'm even more worried about the $1 billion that they took away from public radio and public broadcast. And these are programs that people all across Illinois rely on for weather, for disaster declarations, for warnings about tornado warnings, all of that. And our public radio, public television funding has been drastically cut as a result of that bill also.
Karen, just that clip when she talks about cuts in NPR. The other stuff is important. But right now, if we're talking about the cuts in NPR and PBS.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's why I found that one segment.
And that is so true. There's these rural communities, and that's all they have. And we talked about how there are children that all they get, because they're in these poor areas, can't afford cable. They're not watching Netflix, okay, or HBO Max. They're getting cartoons and educational programs. I know. I grew up on Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers. And that's all. That's what they're getting. And you know what? That's what they can't stand. They don't want these kids learning about empathy, learning about, compassion, about accepting other people.
Well, and also what she touches on as well is, the weather alerts and things like that. And, you in Texas, of course, you guys just went through a horrific experience where.
And there are people that live in those areas, and that's all they get, these rural areas.
Yep.
So, and yet NPR, because nowadays you have to have cable to watch television. There's very little, or it's expensive even to get the right antenna to get digital, terrestrial TV.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah, and you can't get a signal even in the urban areas. But I can remember in the 80s, it was 1985, my brother moved up to northern Michigan in Petoskey, and he had a house that was it was about a mile off the highway, and they got a crummy TV signal. They actually moved into town because of this, and the cable was it was going to cost over $4,000 to get cable, because it was just to run the cable from the link that was out on the highway. The cable itself was $4,000 or a dollar a foot, and he was 4,300 feet, so it was a little less than a mile. 1,000 feet less than a mile. 4,300 feet. 4,300 feet from the highway was $4,300 just to run the cable.
Right.
Well, Biden had that plan for broadband in these areas.
Yeah.
And now I don't know what's happened to that. I mean, he's cut everything. Doge has gone through with the chainsaw.
In Michigan, here's the thing. In Michigan, when I was living with my mom, taking care of my mom, back 5 years ago, during that plan, the Livingston County commissioners, all Republicans, wouldn't take the money.
Oh, that reminds me of what happened in Kerrville.
Money. That's poison. That's poison Democrat money.
Well, that's what happened in Kerrville. I mean, in Kirk County. Yeah. They refused it. I don't know if you saw the clips. It's communist money. If we can't take that money from Joe Biden, the communist, he's evil. And then, of course, 300 people died because of them, because they wouldn't take Joe Biden's communist money.
Well, the only thing is now this, according to, I don't know, the news, whatever, Channel 5 News down there, they showed these people who are saying, don't take that, and if you take that money, I'm holding you personally responsible. They supposedly did take the money, but used it for
bonuses.
I didn't hear bonuses. I heard they used it for police.
Oh no, they got bonuses out of it too.
Police communication radios or whatever. And then they said that, and it was very helpful. I thought not so much. The communication was horrible.
Right. There were so many issues. Yes.
They didn't have any communication.
They didn't have any communication, and they fired
the people that needed it.
And Doge fired the guy that was in charge of communication during disasters to try to coordinate with these people.
Well, the people, obviously, whatever the communication radio is, what you needed to have was a sheriff's deputy go out to the camp and say, hey, you need to evacuate.
Knock on the doors.
Yeah, the camp doesn't have all the police radio stuff that they supposedly spent it on. Well, I didn't see that at all. It didn't work. Whatever they spent it on, it didn't help.
They had phones. They did. The kids had phones, but apparently they did not give out alerts.
Right.
Well, I don't even think usually you're supposed to turn in your phone. You don't get to have your phone.
No, they had their phones there. Oh. There were so many problems. They shouldn't have even built there. The state of Texas allowed them to build on this floodplain. Because they wouldn't take Biden's, communist money. They did appeal to the state of Texas. Dozens of times. I mean, a number of times. And the state of Texas said, "Oh, well, that's not a top priority."
And when you think about this, is like one incident, right? How many more of these incidents are going to happen? And then it's going to be like these big balls of yarns where we have to disseminate why it happened. Right. Was it a result of the cuts from Doge? Was it,
Well, it was all of that. It was all of that.
I know, but that's what I mean. It's like, but every single one of those incidents, we're going to have to get all of that information and unravel every single ball of yarn.
There's going to be a number of them now. I was telling Karen, there's this Old Town Comfort, and they had that same type of experience back in 1987 where campers drowned. And yes, and so they took the money. Okay, they took the money and they installed an emergency alert system. And guess how many people drowned during that flooding? Because it hit Comfort too. Comfort's on the Guadalupe also. Nobody drowned.
Nobody drowned. Wow. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, and then what they'll tell you, and I'm surprised we haven't heard, and maybe somebody has said this, but I expect to hear, well, a lot more people would have died if we hadn't, yeah. No, you don't know that. It's like enough people. It's like it's like as if this number of is 100 and some people is acceptable because a lot more would have died if we wouldn't have the. Well, even if the kid
Anybody
had the
can
phones,
say that.
those weren't phones that were distributed to them by those were their own phones.
They were their own
How come they
phones.
how come they didn't get an alert on their phones?
Because there was nobody coordinating communication.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the problem. I
Right.
mean, there were so many issues, and everywhere you look, in when you go down the line, it's all run by Republicans.
Yes, every single one. And so let's talk a little bit about Doge. I think, since we're on the subject. So, we're trying to figure out how much money, Doge saved us, right? Because they like to pretend like, they saved us all this money. And in actuality, there have been independent agencies that have found out that no, it actually cost taxpayers. Right.
Oh, they're still there, by the way. Doge is still in operation.
Yeah, and they're still there. They're in our post office. They're doing
Social Security.
And people, and of course, we're not talking about it because every day there's something else to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but this is what I found. So if you'll indulge me for a minute here. As of June 29th, 2025, Doge has claimed to have saved $190 billion, although other government entities have estimated to have cost the government $21.7 billion instead. Another independent analysis estimated that Doge cuts will cost taxpayers $135 billion. The Internal Revenue Service predicted more than $500 billion in revenue loss due to Doge driven cuts. Journalists found billions of dollars in miscounting. According to critics, Doge redefined fraud to target federal employees and programs to build political support. Budget experts and Doge cuts were driven more by political ideology than frugality. Musk, Doge, and the Trump administration have made multiple claims of having discovered significant fraud, many of which have not held up under scrutiny. As of May 30th, 2025, Doge cuts to foreign aid programs have led to an estimated 300,000 deaths, mostly of children. And of course, that was back at the end of May. So
yeah, who knows how many more people have died since then. They don't care. They don't care that all those kids died in Kirk County.
No.
They don't care that thousands of children are dying every day from gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care that women are dying because they can't get an abortion.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care that children go hungry. They don't care about any of it.
No.
All they come into office for, and this is what I want to talk about. When Republicans get elected, and we know this, what do? They cut taxes for their billionaire donors and multinational corporations, and that's it. They could care less about helping the American people. And any of the programs to them are just wasteful.
Right.
Well, I don't believe there was any fraud. And the one thing is the fact that this Doge is an executive. Here's the thing. The whole idea that Donald Trump is the executive has made all of these, is taken on all these powers that are reserved for the Congress. The first thing is, if there was all this fraud, the Republicans have been in control of the House for at least the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't heard that, and they should know. That's who's supposed to know. And we've never heard, this was all this fraud. It's news to me that the biggest fraudster, Elon Musk, is in charge of the agency that's supposed to get rid of fraud. The fraud is a bunch of crap.
Right.
There's no fraud. The government is run pretty damn lean. Okay.
Yeah, it's the fraud. All this, but because it's the MAGA ideology that there's fraud everywhere, and government is the problem. This is the Ronald Reagan. The government is the problem. Okay, so why wasn't the Congress making these cuts all along? If these things that they cut have been in place for a long time.
Right. And wouldn't that be a great thing for the mainstream media or, free press to be asking these Republicans, when they have them on the Sunday morning shows?
Okay, let's talk about fraud. Let's talk about a $200 million what is it, that ballroom, okay? Mm-hmm. How about the $1 billion that are going to refurbish a plane that was given to Donald Trump, the flying palace or
That's
whatever,
wrong.
when two other planes were already being built since Obama was in office, and they would have been ready next year. Instead, we're going to spend $1 billion refurbishing that tacky, gross, disgusting plane.
Right.
Because everything has to be gold.
They have to strip it down.
They have to strip it down,
and then yeah.
What about all of the waste? When he goes and he promotes his golf courses in Scotland. Remember, every time Joe Biden went to the beach, that was a big giant scandal. Remember?
Yeah,
he's always at the beach. How about anytime Obama went on vacation? If Obama went to Hawaii, this guy spends most of his time playing golf. And guess what? We pay for it. The Secret Service have to go with him. They have to stay at his properties, which is and he charges like I don't know how much more. Does anybody remember how much more? But it's exorbitant.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there is so much friggin' waste right in front of our eyes. Okay?
Wait, is it 1,500% more?
Yeah, something. It's crazy.
It's like I'm thinking. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about.
15,
I'm thinking about the breaks.
How
pharma.
much we're saving? I went to the drugstore yesterday and I was very upset because my prescription was like $65, and they refused to give me my almost $800 back.
What?
For buying.
Yeah. But you were promised. We were promised.
I said, Donald Trump promised me he cut my drug prices by 1,500%, which means you owe me money.
Right.
Now that would be some good viral videos to go.
Yeah, 100% cut is after 100% it's free, right?
Yeah. Well, it's more than free.
Not only that, you get money back.
Yeah.
They give you money.
That's right. They pay us. Big Pharma loves to do that. They love to write out checks.
But you see, that's the kind of crap that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth that the MAGAs, they don't even. That doesn't.
They brag about it. I was on Twitter and one guy was like, "Oh, breaking news! Donald Trump's going to lower drug prices by 1,500%." I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!"
Well, no, really. I'll give an example about how most people understand. I asked a student of mine when I was teaching at School for the Blind if I was trying to teach him some stuff, some basic math, and I asked this one woman. I said, "Do you know what percent means?" And she said, "Well, I know it's cheaper." And I said, What do you mean it's cheaper? And she said, "Well, if you see that thing that," I said, "the percent sign," she said, "Yeah, if you see that on a box at the grocery store, get it because it's cheaper." And I said, No, that's not what it means. She goes, "It isn't?" No.
It could say 50% more.
all they have to do is hear the words coming out of his mouth, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, this is great. This is good." And then it's
1,500%.
It doesn't matter, which is why, it's like, okay, so when you don't feel that, when they don't feel that, when, we kept hearing in the lead up to the election that, the economy's doing great, but people don't feel it. And it's all about what people.
Oh yeah, we heard that about,
right?
Yeah.
So where are their feelings? Where are their, spidey senses and their extrasensory, detection
I got it.
Bullshit when they're not getting money back.
No, because it doesn't matter, because they feel good, because they feel like mediocre white man status has been restored.
That's all it is, and
that's it.
Because when you think this is, I made this observation to somebody this past week, is that okay? So during the Biden economy, you could say that, I mean, on paper, on the books, the economy was humming along, but the feeling is for individuals is that, well, that's not translating to me. And you think, well, okay, for some individuals, you can say, yeah, I don't feel a lot better. But now, if the economy actually is getting worse, you can't say, unless you're going to use the premise that Anita just mentioned, you can't say that, oh, I feel much better, right? I'm doing much better, even though the economy's worse. I'm doing better as an individual. No, you can't. The only way that works is if you only feel better because you've got an authoritarian, incompetent white guy in charge.
That's right.
That's all.
That's it. There was this guy, he sells knives. He has a small business. He sells knives. I don't know if you saw this, but he back in like April, he did a thing on TikTok about how great the tariffs were, and everybody was complaining, but all his knives are made in America. And so he's going to he said an egg beside each one of his price, if his prices have to go up a little bit or something like that, because this was at the time when Amazon was talking about putting the price, it costs more for the tariff. So he was just bragging about this is going to make people buy made in America because my knives are made in America. And he was very gung-ho about these tariffs. Well, just recently, he put out another TikTok complaining that all these people that manufacture his knives, that make the equipment that manufactures knives, the metal and stuff like that, now it's are tariffed because they're not made in the United States. And as a matter of fact, one of the machines there's only like 12 of them made, period. And of course, and nobody's going to make them here in the United States. So his knives are going up like triple, right? And he's complaining, but he still supports Trump. He just thinks that, he needs a policy adjustment. So this guy is going to lose his business, right?
Yes. Yep.
He's going to lose his business, but I'm telling you, these people will completely, their lives will be completely devastated.
Yes.
They will lose everything.
Yes.
But they will.
Well, I mentioned, exactly. And I mentioned it on, Stephanie, these are the same people. This is, this radicalized MAGA Republican, base. These are the same people that were screaming at black students when they were during desegregation, when they were walking during desegregation. And these are the same people that would drain their own public pools and fill them in with cement just to keep black people out. Same damn people. So, yeah. And that's their party, the party that has radicalized them, to do that just so that they can uphold the white supremacist, white male, Christo-fascist hierarchy.
But you know what? To Anita's point there is that the guy thinks because he thought that, or I don't know if I guess his premise was that the price might have gone up a little bit, but at least his knives are now being made in the United States. But they're not.
Right.
And somebody was barking at Tom Hartman last week saying the tariffs are working, and Tom Hartman just sometimes doesn't have the presence of mind to say how are they working. Has a single manufacturing job come back to the United States? And the answer is no, because
we're losing them. We're losing manufacturing jobs.
I mean, how can you say that it's working if the job report is adjusting over the past 3 months? Of May, June, and July, May revised down to 19,000, June jobs, June down to 14,000, and I'll bet you that 73,000 in July gets revised down to negative.
Yep.
But we'll never hear about it.
Well, we'll never hear about it.
We'll never hear about it. But here's my question to you guys, because, okay, we have that like minuscule, minority group of people in MAGA and Republicans. How do we reach the people that don't feel that they're informed enough to vote, or single issue, so they decide to stay home because they're not happy with whatever the issue is? And both sides do it, blah, blah, blah. How do we reach them so that they understand what's at stake and what's happening?
I don't believe that those people exist. I'll tell you, and I was just...
No, they exist. They're the Trump, Biden, Trump voters.
They're the what?
Trump, Biden, Trump voters.
Mm-hmm.
They voted for Trump, then they voted for Biden, then they voted for Trump?
Yeah.
Oh,
They exist. And I'll tell you what, the way you get, the only way, you cannot, nothing we say, nothing we promise them, because they don't give a crap about policy. These people they're uninformed. The people that decide most of our elections are the least informed people there are.
Somebody yesterday was talking about how we need to reach the non-voter. And we need to listen to them. And I called it was on Patty Vasquez yesterday. I said, look, I don't think the non-voter could tell you anything that's coherent enough to get you they couldn't tell you, and they would tell you things that either aren't true or don't make any sense.
Right.
I've met non-voters, and you're right. They don't know anything.
And so who we need to reach, and this is what went wrong. And I was banging this drum all the way up to the election on Kitchen Table Progressive, is that the ones you need to reach, you get the surveys and they say, are you very likely to vote in the next election? Somewhat likely, somewhat unlikely, or not at all likely. The people that you have to reach, the margin, are the somewhat likely voter. The somewhat likely voter are the ones who really don't know if they're going to vote probably until election day, when they actually walk out the door and say, well, I'm not doing anything. Yeah, I guess I'll go. They only start paying attention about after Labor Day, so 60 days before the election.
Election day. Some of them decide on election day. I'm not kidding.
Exactly. And they don't really start to coalesce about whether they're going to vote for about a week beforehand. And then they are still not reliable until they actually walk out the door. They are not vote by mail. They don't have that much forethought. It's just like, yeah, I guess I will. They're moved at the moment. And what happened is, and I remember the reason how I got to this is when I had this political science professor on Kitchen Table Progressive, and I asked her, so Donald Trump could turn out to be the next Grover Cleveland, when Grover Cleveland was the 22nd and the 24th president.
Yeah,
I asked her, why did America, fall in love with Grover Cleveland and then out of love and vote for Benjamin Harrison and then back in love with Grover Cleveland? And she said, they didn't. I said, they didn't. She said, no. What happened was, it's a matter of who showed up in the margins. The base voters were the same. It's just that who shows up. And that's what happened in 2024, is the Democratic margin didn't show up. The people who are the somewhat likely voters.
Okay, can I just say something real quick? The people you're talking about, there was a lot of people that didn't vote, or even some of them that voted third party, and then a few of them actually voted for Trump. When the Democratic coalition, the left, coalesces around a candidate, when they decide, because they did that in 2018, and they did that in 2020, and they did that for Obama, then we win. So those people that couldn't vote because of Gaza, or for whatever reason,
or voted for Jill Stein,
or voted for Jill Stein,
or
back
voted
in
for
2016,
Trump. right?
Couldn't vote for Hillary. So
couldn't again. We talked about this before, Anita. Maybe yesterday we were talking. Is that there is plenty of racism and misogyny on the Democratic side too.
That too.
Yes.
And a black woman. Some people just can't. It's like, I'm not. In other words, oh no, I'm not going. I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down to the bowling alley, or I'm going to go down to the bar and talk about it with people instead of go vote.
Or a woman. Period.
And just complain, just bitch and moan about it.
Exactly.
Let me just say, do you think the Democratic Party, how long do you think it'll be before the Democratic Party actually nominates another woman?
A long time.
Long time.
Because you know what? Donald Trump beat Kamala, he beat Hillary. Now, she got 3 million more votes, and he had help from Russia and all that. But he lost to Joe Biden.
Yep.
So
I think he would have lost again.
I think he would have lost again too. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah,
I agree.
But the truth, and it's sad, but we may have to just wait till I don't know what. Of course, Donald Trump he's fucking up this country so badly. I'm not sure that we could just about run anybody, and people will be so desperate to get rid of him.
Well, I don't know. It's too easy. It's too what am I trying?
That's what happened with George Bush.
The trashing of a woman is so easy.
Yes,
it seems like that.
So effective.
It takes over. It would be. I mean, Hillary Clinton. I mean, think of it this way: in 2000, remember 2007, coming up to, it was astonishing that, and this is why I make this point. It was astonishing that Barack Obama won the nomination in 2008, because in 2007. Hillary Clinton was the most popular woman in America. And over the next 10 years, up to first of all, she didn't win, a black man got the nomination in the Democratic Party over her. And then, so Obama won in 2008. And in 2000.
Barely, and they didn't even count Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think,
Well, he won, but and then in the ensuing 10 years, though, the Republicans did nothing but trash her, and then she became this demon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you remember correctly, her approval ratings when she was Secretary of State were like at 70-something%.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very popular.
She was very popular.
But that was when she was Secretary of State.
But see, when a woman starts looking, too ambitious.
Yes.
That's when
you can be Secretary of State, honey.
But you know Secretary what? Of State, maybe even governor, but not president.
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it goes back. It goes back to original sin. Is that it does? I mean, you think, and when you look,
you sound just like one of our other guests, Debriana. She says the same thing. Remember that, Anita?
Yeah, she does. Yeah.
Well, look at the apple. You say, "Oh, husband, we can," and dumb husband says, "Oh, okay." He listens. It's like.
But who wrote that?
All the blame. She gets all the blame for the fall of man.
She does, but who wrote that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Men wrote that.
Absolutely. Right. So I think it goes back to that question. Are we more racist or are we more misogynistic in this country? And I'm going to go misogynistic.
I'm going to go misogynistic. I just look at Clarence Thomas and Anita Hill and I'm like, oh yeah, we're more racist. We're more misogynist.
Yeah, I think gender difference, and that's again why, and we'll get into
it's more acceptable.
The transgenderism is a people have all this difficulty because they have difficulty with gender issues to begin with.
Yes.
And they really cannot understand why a man would feel like or become a woman.
Mm-hmm. But they have a problem with gender, but boy, oh boy, the Republicans really have an obsession about genitals.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. They have such an obsession with because they're what do we call them? They're degenerates. We need to stress that they are a party of degenerates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with other people's sex lives. They're obsessed with other people's, just the way we want to live our lives, our private lives.
And yet are okay turning a blind eye and covering up for perverts and giving cover to a serial rapist and a child trafficker, moving Ghislaine Maxwell to a country club prison, and
because they're degenerates, Karen. They're total degenerates. They don't give a fuck about any of that.
Because they're okay with covering that up because that's what they have to do for themselves every day.
That's right. But maybe we can find some common ground finally on the Epstein files and the cover up. And so I wanted to kind of shift gears over to that if we can. So I just want to play this tape. This was on CNN with, I can never remember her name, this lady, Erin Burnett. So here, and she was, GOP rep asked why he's covering up the Epstein files at town hall. So this was Mike Flood and Republican from Nebraska.
Why are you covering up the Epstein files?
Let's be very clear. At the next pro forma session of the Congress, you'll find my name as a sponsor on a resolution from the House Rules Committee to release the Epstein files to protect the victims and not re-victimize them again. I support Jamie Comer, who is the House's Oversight Committee Chairman, subpoenaing Ms. Maxwell later this month to come testify in Washington. I am for the release of those records.
They're not subpoenaing Maxwell, first of all.
No.
And if anything that comes out of Comer, I don't
trust.
Bullshit. First, he's so full of shit.
Let's be clear. Yeah.
They've had plenty of chances to vote to release the Epstein files. And every Republican has voted no except for Thomas Massey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So and what version is he talking about?
So what I have
when
to
he
say
says
to Mike Flood is,
wait, say that again. What did you say?
Cheap.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
He is so full of shit. I've called my congressman, Chip Roy, okay? I called his office, and they give me the same old runaround. I called Mark Wayne Mullen's office. They're like, oh yes, they want to release. He wants total, what do you call it? Transparency. They want
Yeah.
to, and they've got a bill he supports that's going to release all the grand jury file or the grand jury testimony. I'm like, that. First of all, here's one thing about these guys that are just obsessed with the Epstein files, the QAnon types.
Mhm.
They know all this shit. They know all of it. They're very, very, very. They've been studying it for years. Okay,
And
So
I
when
think we should support them. I think we
should
need to
support
back them up.
We need to back these QAnon crazies. Okay,
We
guys?
have to. We have to because we
to.
have to get to the bottom of this. We have to demand.
We
and
have to demand. It
We
is-
have to absolutely tear down the Republican Party for their cover up, their roles.
Well, honestly, what this has become, and yes, you know what? Like I've said before, Democrats didn't use this because we didn't want to exploit these these victims of rape and abuse by these men, right? The Republicans are fine with that, but they didn't ever care about the victims. What they cared about was they thought this was a way to expose all the terrible Democrats and the elites and finally show everybody how degenerate they were.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out their leader was probably, it seems to me, so mixed up in it. He was basically a partner of Jeffrey Epstein. They were running a sex trafficking ring.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like to me. And they have both had modeling agencies. The accountant for Jeffrey Epstein testified that he modeled his modeling agency after Donald Trump. His modeling agency turned out to be a front for sex trafficking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So they never gave a crap about any of this. They just wanted to use it for political gain, or to try to they're still mad that they were wrong about, Iraq. So they just wanted to expose the Democrats as these terrible, horrible the pedophiles.
Well,
Right.
and the other thing is that the asking, calling for the release of the grand jury
Is ridiculous. Yeah.
is a red herring.
It's totally
First of all,
a distraction.
they already know that no judge is going to release those because a grand jury hearing is secret. So
And there's only
you don't release grand jury material because somebody wants to exonerate themselves, because it wouldn't. There may be lots of people who aren't in the grand jury, people who are part of the ring who are not in the grand jury, because that's not what the purpose of the grand jury testimony was. And then to say that we don't know whether there were victims or not who testified.
Right.
And so none of it would actually prove anything, even if it were released. So they know
it was all about Maxwell anyway, and Epstein. It was about their culpability. It wasn't.
Exactly. It would. First of all, they know that no judge is going to release it. So then the maggots can say, "Well, it would have exonerated, except for the judge won't do it." And secondly, it doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove anything, even what they do.
No.
It's just in other words, then, well, get back to, why don't you just release the files that you have, right?
And stop going over and talking to a convicted child sex trafficker,
right,
to get her to exonerate you and for a pardon. Instead, let's talk to the victims.
Yeah, I think they moved
her. Get the transcripts.
I think they moved her to that.
They did in Bryant.
Club Fed, just to. I don't think that's permanent. I think they're going to give her a taste of a better life and say, so you want to play ball now, or you want to go back to Tallahassee?
What was in that box? There was a box that she carried out with her. Was that all of the stuff? Was that the stuff that she had been holding on to, like evidence that she was willing to give them in exchange for whatever they were going to give her?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I just don't see how there's any, upside for her at all in any of this. And why in God's name would she ever trust Donald Trump or Pam Bondi to, it's not. I don't think it's going to end well.
What difference does it make? When she gets a pardon, what difference does it make? She's going to be fine. She's going to get a lot out of this. She's probably going to get a pardon, and she's going to be scot-free, and she'll probably move out of the country.
Yeah, no matter what she says, it doesn't. It's that no matter what she says, doesn't prove anything because it's all been transactional.
Right.
Yep.
She was already a convicted felon and a liar, and she lied. Part of her conviction was because she lied.
So what are we gonna get out of it?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
She
Well,
like.
and what about? I mean, and what about what's going to happen to MAGA when they see all that shit unfold? As far
I
as
don't know. That's a
their
good
vitriol, their vitriol towards the Republican Party and Donald Trump, who just pardoned the bitch.
There's going to be a good portion of them, I know, because I'm on Nazi Twitter, who are going to just go ahead and believe whatever they tell them to believe, okay? But there's going to be a number who are smarter than that. I know that's hard to believe, but that are going to be like, wait a minute, because I listen to these like bro podcasters. These guys don't want like being made fools of, and they feel like they're being made fools of. And they get what is going on. Why is he talking to her? And what our job needs to be to make sure everybody understands she's not some innocent, that she's not some victim like they're trying to portray her as on Newsmax. She was a rapist. Go watch those documentaries. Not only did she groom them, but she participated in raping these children. So, and just her, they trusted her. Here's this woman. She has a British accent. She's, she seems real classy and all this other stuff. She goes up and she lures them with promises of, oh, you're so beautiful. Have you thought about modeling?
Right.
I'd like you to meet somebody who might be able to help you.
Right. Right.
And then the other thing is that why should we accept the proposal of, okay, so that Donald Trump is in this case, the accused. Why do we accept the proposal of the accused as to how he can clear himself? Right.
We shouldn't.
Yeah. It's kind of like hey, look, I'm innocent. You can even go look in my closet. Well,
right.
But
it's just, I think all of it and what we're seeing, it just speaks to, and either people's disdain or acceptance of, all of this. It goes right back to what we were saying earlier about the misogyny in this country and our cultural conditioning, that it's just like, yeah, this stuff goes on all the time. Anita and I can tell you, give, personal accounts of, things where we were put in positions as very young women, by, and kind of these smarmy, older men who think that they can prey upon our innocence or, naivete, our youth, And
I was 14. I was 14 when I was approached by somebody like that.
Yeah.
Of course, I was smarter than most 14-year-olds, I guess.
Right.
And I was like, that guy seems very
You had a
smarmy.
sense of, and you had a sense of yourself, and it was
But there are some girls, especially girls that come from, they're troubled, whatever. Some of these girls were runaways or whatever, and they know which girls to target. Okay,
right. Which is why, when my kids had some adult gave them the ick, or they were kind of like leery or whatever, I was like, you go with that. If you're leery, you trust that. Right. Trust that when somebody is, you feel a certain kind of way and, they set off something for you, then you trust that, go with that instinct. And I think that's what it is. I think a lot of it, Anita, because, I'm sure I didn't, know your mother, but just everything that you've told me about her is that she instilled that in you. Yeah.
Well, she instilled more it was probably also just a self-confidence or self-esteem. Where I wouldn't be like, some guy just saying some nice things to me wasn't gonna do it for me. But some of these girls aren't raised like that.
No, and it's like you respect your elders, you listen to your elders, you listen to authority, or anybody who you see as authority too. That's where you kind of get into dangerous,
No, not I wasn't raised like that.
I wasn't. No, I wasn't either. I'm saying that but there are
those girls that are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Especially if they're brought up in very religious households. I know this is another topic and it's kind of a non sequitur, but if you're raised in like a very dogmatic, environment, and you don't question anything, you don't question what you're told by priests or preachers or your parents,
Yeah.
then sometimes, that's why
Yeah.
these girls get in trouble with these
Right.
priests and preachers all the time.
And
But
by the way, that's not like, to blame any of these
religion.
young women for,
No,
or
I'm not
blame
blaming
any
them.
of,
I'm not.
no.
No, it's not their fault.
Anita, no,
Yeah.
Anita, I'm not saying you are.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, understanding that, like, that is not what it's about. It is, but it is about kind of, speaking to the cultural conditioning that young girls and women go through at the hands of their elders, right? Their
Even
parents
young
or their
boys, though.
grandparents, right? Even young boys, you're right.
Even young
But in
boys.
this particular instance, and what we're, when we're talking about it, Anita, you and I, it is specific to young women.
But you hear about that from the Catholic, these kids that have been molested by priests and stuff like that.
Yes.
Where they were
absolutely.
afraid because it was a priest. Are you kidding?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, one thing I do want to say is that, yes, the Epstein stuff is going to be important. And it's another one of these things that Republicans like to talk about. And now they've gotten bit in the ass by it.
Yeah. Well, here, can I play this clip of the backlash? This is Tammy Duckworth again. Hold on one second.
And public media and the passage of the president's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. But Democrats are sounding the alarm on the impact of spending cuts. Here with more is Illinois Senator Tammy Duckworth. Senator, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
So this morning, the president, during a sit-down with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., President Trump answered some questions about the Jeffrey Epstein files and a potential conflict of interest with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. Here's a bit of that.
I didn't know that they were going to do it. I don't really follow that too much. It's sort of a witch hunt, just a continuation of the witch hunt. The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up to 2020 in the election. They tried to rig the election, and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that.
Yeah.
Senator Duckworth, what's your reaction to some of what we just heard the president say?
Well, he's trying to change a subject when, in fact, he's the guy who started the witch hunt. For years, Trump fanned the flames or simply invented some of the most chaotic conspiracy theories. Seems like either that habit is finally catching up to him, or maybe there really are files that he's listed in and he knows it. I mean, House Republicans are literally canceling votes this week and running away until September to help Trump sweep this under the rug, protect abusers, and avoid delivering the transparency that he promised the American people on the campaign trail. I don't know why they're acting so afraid over these files if they supposedly don't contain anything damning like Trump has claimed. So if there's nothing there, go ahead and release them. But let me tell you what I do know. I know that Trump was found liable for sexual abuse and convicted on 34 counts of paying hush money to a porn star. That's not a conspiracy. Those are just the facts about the criminal who lied his way back to the most powerful office in the world. And if there's nothing in the files, there's no reason to hide them, so let's release them.
Additionally, Senator, because as you said, he pivoted from a question about the Epstein files to an alleged witch hunt.
Okay, so.
Yeah, the whole thing about Obama is so ridiculous. I don't even like going into it because it's just dumb.
Of course.
And did you notice?
And it's desperate. Yeah, it's just.
It shows how desperate he is. Mm-hmm. And this whole grand jury thing shows even more desperation. And they're going to call Hillary and Bill. They're going to do everything they can to distract us from that. But all they're going to do is put more attention, is cause more people to pay attention to the Epstein files.
That's right. That's why I think you keep it out there.
I'm fine, Bill. There. Come on, Bill. You'll do okay. Hillary, we know you can handle 11 hours in front of a.
We know she can do it.
What's interesting about it is that, as Speaker Mike Johnson has, kind of adjourned Congress, supposedly to make all this go away, the Trump White House keeps it going.
Yes. I know he keeps opening his stupid mouth, like when he talked about.
He can't stop it, so it's not going to go away because Trump knows it's not going to go away.
Yeah.
No,
so if you're going to adjourn Congress, then just shut up, stop talking about it.
Yeah.
No, well, when he started talking about those girls that were stolen from him.
Yeah.
Really? What were they?
A 16-year-old. First of all, it's like, why does he know that a 16-year-old is the towel girl in the locker room? Why does he even know that?
Because that's who he hired. You know what's funny? Yes,
because he he was so upset about it because it's almost like, the only one who has a grievance about somebody stealing a 16-year-old girl is a 16-year-old boy. You stole my girlfriend, right? I could see a 16-year-old boy get upset about that, but not a man going, why does he even know? Because he got plenty from her, right? Yeah.
He hired these girls to be,
exactly.
he hired basically, I don't know, Midas Touch put up the little ads for him. And basically the woman that put those up, the ads up, testified that basically the only thing they wanted was these hot girls.
Yeah.
To wear these skin tight little mini skirts and shirts and just stand out there. They really didn't do anything. They folded like toilet paper and handed out. Yeah. That's what they were there for.
Skeevy.
It's
God,
gross.
is it skeevy.
16-year-old girls. But anyway, so my point though was that this is going to depress the MAGA vote. Okay, that's what we can count on. Because what he's done is he's made them question everything about him, because they really believed he was this larger than life, like a god, who was going to expose all this horrible stuff that was really going on in government, right? But he's now, not only has he failed, but it looks like he was part of all that, or if not, one of the biggest culprits of it. So,
and like I said, Anita, before, is that I learned this from my mom. My mom was a clinical nurse practitioner. She was in nursing for 67 years. She was a professor of nursing. She retired when she was 82. But what I learned from her about is she noticed when she was in clinical practice is that, okay, in the poor communities, there's things that run rampant. Alcoholism and drug abuse runs rampant. And you can read that in J.D. Vance's book about,
Hillbilly Elegy, Yeah,
Hillbilly Elegy. But also, what runs more rampant in the poor white community than Black or Latino is sexual abuse. So he's turning out they thought he was his Uncle Enforcer, and now he's turning out to be Uncle Creepy. Yep. There's a lot of incest in the poor white community, and I bet you, my mom said 30 to 40% of women that she knew, and probably more because they all didn't disclose to her, but were either raped by a neighbor or an uncle or a brother or even father.
Oh yeah. I knew girls like that.
Yep.
But the immigrants are the ones that we have to protect people from. Young girls from.
But the truth is, it is going to depress the vote, because that thing has blown up in their face, and so with the economy the way it's going now, the data is not going to matter because people are going to feel it.
Well, and if Trump, and here's the other thing, it's the credibility issue, because if Trump and the Republicans have been lying to them about all of this, what else?
Everything's a hoax.
What else is a hoax? What else did they say was a hoax? Wasn't a hoax? What else did they lie to them about? And I think that is an important thing that we should keep asking.
I think they know they're lying. I think the average Republican voter, for the most part, knows that they're lying, but they're lying it for them. Okay. They feel like once again, all that matters to these people, and we have to keep this in mind, is that they are upholding white, mediocre white men status. Right. And so come on, they know trickle down doesn't work. They know all of these things are bullshit.
Yeah.
But they keep deregulation. What the fuck? They don't even know what the fuck they're talking about.
No, they don't.
Right.
So they know they're lying, but
I don't think that, honestly, I don't think that for the MAGA, they don't really care about policy. They don't have enough.
No,
they don't.
They couldn't name a policy they couldn't name a policy, let alone one that concerns them.
Affects them. Yeah.
Or affects them. Yeah. Because what the Republicans always go for is the red meat, and it's because they know that again, people in the MAGA community have so many sexual hangups. They have so many other.
So they go after trans kids and
they really should be more in counseling than anything else. And and they can't. So it's easy to distract them with things like the transgender. It's like I was listening to Rick Smith last week, and I emailed him and I said, look, he said that he's in central Pennsylvania.
Oh, this is going to piss off Karen. Tell her about this. Yeah.
Oh,
okay. Yeah,
and for anybody out there that doesn't know who Rick Smith is,
he's got a program. It's on WCPT, but he's heard elsewhere. He's in central Pennsylvania, which is very, very right wing. It's got, what do they call that? It's the between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh is Mississippi, right? So and it's so he says he talks about, most of his program is about blue collar issues in politics and blue collar economic issues. Well, he says, I got one of he calls the magazine his red hat friends. Okay, he says, so this one guy, one of my red hat friends, the only issue that he cares about is the transgender issue. He says, so Democrats have got to stop shoving that down their throats and telling them they have to accept it. And I emailed him and I said, well, first of all, if that's the only thing he cares about, none of the blue collar economic issues that you talk about means crap to him, right?
That's right.
Because he's not paying attention. You said the only thing that he cares about is trans. And I said, the reason is because he's got sexual hangups.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the only thing he cares about.
If it's not that, it'll be something else. It will be.
There's no policy issue that's going to change his mind. And so he's not focusing on unions or pay or whatever. He doesn't care.
And Democrats aren't pushing transgender people down their fucking throats, by the way.
No, they're not.
Point of order. That's an issue that they made an issue. That's not an issue.
That's what they made an issue. And if you defend a person's right to self-determination, then you're shoving it down their throat. Just like if you say to somebody, a hyper moralistic Christian, that no, you cannot discriminate in the marketplace. They say, "Oh, you're infringing on my right to religious practice." Well, no, religious practice doesn't include discriminating against people in the marketplace.
No, and if you're a public figure, if you're a celebrity, an entertainer, a politician, and you come out and you say hateful things, and the public and the free market react to it, that's not cancellation. That is consequences.
Exactly. And if you believe in freedom, then why do you care?
Exactly.
Right. You talk about cancellation. I think the whole Trump regime is cancellation.
I'm just so sick of these people. I remember asking Tom Hartman. He had some idiot on from the Oath Keepers. He would always have these weirdos on from the Oath Keepers talking about how much he loved freedom and everything. Of course, he hated Obama and the Affordable Care Act. And I said, why don't you ask him what his definition of freedom is? Because to me, how free can you be when you have to worry about how you can't pay for health care?
Right.
When you can't buy, when you can't pay your rent. Or these people, their idea of freedom, I don't give a crap how people live their lives. If they're gay, straight, trans, whatever. That's, but.
Well, you know what, speaking of that, the guy that was barking at Tom Hartman last week who said that the tariffs are working, and Tom asked a question, okay, so what's your definition of fascism? And the guy says this, he says, my definition of fascism is forcing somebody to get a COVID vaccine. And Tom did not come back and say, nobody was forced to get one, right?
No, nobody
was forced. As a matter of fact, my dad didn't get one, and he's dead, right? From COVID.
Yep.
So it's like, now forcing you, making a choice to get a vaccine, either you get a vaccine or you can't work here, that's not forcing you, that's giving you a choice.
They're not coming to your house and making you have a vaccine.
That is a private
countries
company.
Like China.
Yes, that is a private company saying to its employees that this is a requirement for your employment.
Exactly.
Just like
the government.
And the U.S. military can order you to get tons of other vaccines. Why don't they bitch about those?
Well, because the government, once you join the service, you're property of the government.
But that's national security, and that's being ready.
Yeah.
But that's a choice to be in the military.
Right. Absolutely. And you know that you're getting that when you sign on.
Exactly.
Right.
You gotta obey orders.
Yeah, I mean, all of this, talk about, oh my God, fiscal conservatism and responsibility and like, oh, the cost of this and that. So Anita brought up this moment in Mike Flood's town hall where one of his constituents stood up and asked a very important question.
With $450 million FEMA dollars being reallocated to open Alligator Alcatraz and $600 million taxpayer FEMA dollars being used to now open more concentration camps, and ICE burning through $8.4 million a day to illegally detain people, how much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
Americans went to the polls in November, and they had a choice between a Democratic candidate that had an open border, no enforcement, fentanyl, drugs, human trafficking. And they had a choice between that and a candidate that said, close the border, get illegal immigrants out of our country, stop the fentanyl, stop the human trafficking, stop the drugs, stop the crime, stop the violence. That's what Americans voted for.
Okay, those are all false pretenses.
Thank you. And by the way, fentanyl being seized at the border is not coming across the border. Remember that one?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. We were seizing fentanyl. The border was not open. No. All that other crap. No, but I mean, everything he said, he's just full of crap.
Bullshit.
So she's talking about fascism and how much fascism is going to cost us, and he goes back to people voted against this, open border. And then he started talking about all these he gave a bunch of false pretenses.
Yeah.
So people voted on lies. People voted on lies.
That's right. Exactly right, because all of that stuff that she just mentioned, none of that was a part of their campaign message.
No.
And the cost of fascism is high. Okay. First of all, how much is ICE costing us? I just saw $170 billion. Did you see they're unloading those? Like they're not U-Haul. They're There's some other brand of trucks. And in LA, and these guys, these ICE people in masks and everything, fully armed, are just jumping out of them and starting to push these people around. And if they're brown, they grab them. That's what's happening right now.
Yep.
In our country.
There was another, before we run out of time, another message that is a false message that I heard, and this is the kind of crap that the right wing pushes, and people don't. People don't seem to catch it. That it was before the election. Alex Wagner, a very disappointing episode of her program,
I know
had this focus group with black voters in Philadelphia.
Oh God!
Yeah, who were going to vote, who were considering voting for Trump. And one woman said a black woman said, Kamala Harris was sworn into the Senate as the first Indian American to be elected to the Senate. And I just went, stop. She was not sworn in as the first Indian American. They don't go, raise your right hand. Now you are the first
Indian American.
No, I'm sorry. No,
isn't that what they did to Obama? Didn't they, he raised his hand and
you are the first black man to be president.
Right.
No, Kamala Harris never said anything about her race. Never. It was the AP. No. The AP, the Associate President, said she was the first Indian American. And the woman says, and now suddenly she's black.
Right. Well, that was so widespread. Do you know how that was that is what they were pumping out.
It worked.
Because I have somebody who I know, and I had a conversation with her. She's a black woman. And she said the same thing. And I'm like, where the hell is this coming from?
Well, but Barack Obama was just as black as Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
his mother. Wait a minute. His mother. Nobody ever said that about. Everybody agreed. Barack Obama's black. His mother was white.
Mm-hmm.
Her mother was Indian. Her father was black.
Right.
This was just some tactic that They were trying to use for the basically targeting the black community.
Right. That's what I mean.
What it is first of all, like I said, it was the Associated Press that said that Kamala Harris was the first American because they couldn't say she was the first Black American to be elected to the Senate. She can be both Indian and black.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Okay, so they couldn't say that she was of African American heritage, the first African American to be voted because she wasn't. She was the first one person of Indian heritage. So they said that, and then you got these people who are so stupid. They say, "Oh, and now you're suddenly black." That's like me saying, they say to me, "You are the first Scottish American to be sworn into," And then I say, "Yeah, I have German. I'm German." They say, "Oh, now suddenly you're German?" Yeah, I'm Scottish.
Same here, Scottish. I'm first.
I got German, Scottish, English, French, Welsh, Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a mutt.
I'm all over the place. Yeah, but and of
mutts are smart.
course, that is not to ignore the fact that the majority of white people voted for Donald Trump Yeah.
That's right. That's right. We have to remember that. Like 80-something% of you black men voted for Kamala Harris. And
that's right.
90% of black women.
Right. And but it is so disgusting to me that was the message that was seeping out and that, there were actually people who were claiming that, believing that bullshit.
And that she slept her way up to, which made no sense because she was elected, okay? She slept her way to the top.
Slept her way to I remember that.
Right.
Yeah. She slept her way she slept with every voter, yeah.
Every voter.
Every voter. That's how she did it.
You know what?
But that would get a lot of votes.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah.
No, it's really amazing how worked
for Bill Clinton. No, I'm just kidding. It would have.
It would, of when I was teaching.
You never say that about men, though.
No, and I was teaching geometry, and I had a girl who said, what do I need this for? And I said, well, you're a ballet dancer. You don't really need it to do ballet. But I said, the thing about geometry, it's practicing with these shapes. We're practicing logic. And the thing is that if you don't have sound logic, and it's easy to determine that you don't, and anybody can take advantage of you.
Yeah.
If they can see that you don't understand things logically, you can be tricked and fooled. So it's not so much about triangles and stuff. It's about
12:57 p.m. and
learn your logic, and that's what most people don't have. They are so easily duped. Is that somebody couldn't be both Indian American and African American? It's just ridiculous.
No critical thinking skills at all.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that you're going to get hung up on. I mean, really? It just that's the part that was so astonishing. It's like, okay, but then you're hung up on that, but you're ignoring the fact that we have a 34 count felon.
Right.
Criminally.
But they don't care about that.
I know. But Anita, that's not the point. The point is it's like you can see both sides, and you can see what this person is and a fraud, a convicted felon, a adjudicated rapist. We already went through 4 years of the shit.
Yeah.
And yet you're going to go with that.
Because it was an excuse, a justification.
Because Kamala Harris, if you're taking them at face value, because Kamala Harris just became black.
And it's now ridiculous. We have to, after enduring the worst management of COVID, which is our economy took a big hit because of that.
Yeah.
Now we we were just starting to recover. It's like being sick and being reinfected all over again.
Yes. And we're going to be
it's destroying
literally
the economy more.
He inherited a pretty amazing economy. We were as the Wall Street Journal put, we were the envy of the world. We had brought down inflation faster than any other developed country.
Yep.
We were jobs going gangbusters pretty much on and every item and every data point that you can think of. And now,
and so did the Economist magazine said that it was the fastest growing, wealthiest, fastest growing economy in the history of the world.
Right. And he also inherited.
The Economist said that. The Economist
and the Wall Street Journal.
Yep.
Praised it.
Yep.
A little
Oh,
late.
well, the Wall Street Journal's always been wrong.
Failing
Suddenly the Wall
Wall
Street Journal is
Street
incredible, right?
Journal.
Well, no, they're pretty good about their it's the editorial board that sucks.
Yeah.
Right.
But also, I mean, he did the same thing with the Obama economy. The Obama economy took longer because of people like Larry Summers that he listened to. Took longer to recover, but it was at a good place when Donald Trump inherited it.
Yeah.
And he started running it into the ground with his stupid tariff wars, trade wars again. But nobody blamed him because COVID hit and all that stuff went out the window and everything was blamed on COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was already destroying the economy. Granted, at that time, he surrounded himself with some more, normal, like sane people, not just a bunch of weirdo loyalists. Yeah. So they kind of stopped him from doing some of the worst things. Like he did want to do more tariffs, but he was stopped from doing that. Otherwise, he probably would have destroyed it the first time a lot sooner. My theory is COVID saved his ass. COVID, a lot of people say COVID's the reason why COVID saved his ass. That's the reason why he was able to come back and win the second term. Because everything he did bad was blamed on COVID, which wasn't his fault. Nobody cares that he mishandled it like he did.
Right.
Because the rest
how is it? It's going to be interesting to see how this time around, when clearly he's killed this economy and the cost of things are just continuing to go up, and with the tariffs and everything, they're going to continue to go up. How do these people that were giving him credit for the Obama economy and not blaming him for the total collapse of the economy because, of his terrible tariffs last time? It's like, how do they square that?
Well, they're not going to be able to. And the thing about it is there's always going to be, like I've said before, George Bush left with like a 30% approval rating. There's going to be that ride or die, base of crazy Republican voters who are going to, most of the evangelicals, who are going to stick with him. But the rest of the people, the ones that put him over the top, the Trump, Biden, Trump voters, Trump, voters. And then there's also going to be some that just aren't, in the cult, who are just going to abandon him. And then they're going to look for a new Tea Party. And that's why we have to burn the lifeboats. Forget it. These people, not this time. They all have to be held accountable.
Right.
I'm talking about the Republicans who are complicit, who are going along with him.
Yeah.
Because they're going to try to pretend they're going to distance themselves eventually when this all goes to shit.
Yep. Well, on that note, I think we have come to the end of our hour and something.
It goes fast when Paul's on.
It sure does. And, I know that we could probably sit here for another hour or two.
Well, we'll do it another time.
We will definitely do this another time. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you,
Paul.
us.
Thank you so much, and we'll be doing it again real soon.
Yes, please. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.